The GameCube surely had some unique marketing when it launched. Everybody knows the GameCube for its tremendous first-party Nintendo titles, and there is quite a market for them nowadays. But did you know there are a ton of interesting and yes, incredibly valuable JRPGs on the console? Sure, a few are from Nintendo, but a couple of these are truly great lesser-known gems. It's time to take a look at 7 ridiculously expensive GameCube JRPGs in today's episode of These Games Are Worth How Much. Let's get into it. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door was released worldwide for the GameCube in 2004. The game was developed by Intelligent Systems and of course published by Nintendo. It is a direct sequel to Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64. The story follows our titular star as he and Princess Peach go off in search of mystical treasure. Of course, Peach is kidnapped, as she usually ends up being, this time by aliens called the X-Nauts. It would seem they'd like to resurrect their ancient demon queen and bring about calamity. Mario and Bowser race to collect the crystal stars and save the day. The game has an interesting cast of characters and some fun new mechanics. Goombella stands in for Goombario. We have Koops replacing Kooper the Koopa, and a Bob-omb, a fancy spirit, and my absolute favorites Vivian and Miss Mouse. You may know Vivian from the recent controversy about the character coming out as trans in the remake of the game. We won't get into that, but I can tell you Vivian and Miss Mouse are incredible. The badge system, which is a precursor to and quite similar to the badges in Mario Wonder, add depth and customization to the gameplay by enhancing abilities or giving Mario new ones. The crowd can also react to battles, showering Mario with gifts and restoring star power, or even throwing items to damage him if they are not impressed. The game was simply incredible. The art and animation was spot on. A lovely little soundtrack accompanies it all. It won numerous awards, received near universal praise, and is considered one of the greatest games of all time and the best in the Paper Mario series. There are 3 versions that were released: the original box, the bestseller stamped box, and the Player's Choice release. The bestseller stamped copy sells for a bit more than the others, and it will cost you about $79 complete in box to open the Thousand-Year Door. Phantasy Star Online Episodes 1 and 2 were released in 2003 in Japan and North America, and later in 2004 in Europe. After Sega closed the book on its console business in 2001, they began development on a port for the GameCube of its wildly popular online franchise. Sega chose the GameCube because of its similar architecture to the Dreamcast, and because it supported dial-up, though broadband was rapidly being developed and adopted. The game did offer single-player content and even had split-screen local multiplayer. Nintendo developed a modem and broadband adapter for the GameCube, as well as a Japan-exclusive keyboard with the help of ASCII. Sonic characters, a Chow Garden, and mini-games based on popular Sega franchises like Puyo Puyo and Knights were included in the game. The game received widespread acclaim for the online aspects and fun activities to partake in with other players, but it was labeled by many as not being worth buying if you couldn't or didn't plan to play online. The US and Japanese servers ran until March of 2007. Episodes 1 and 2 Plus were later released on the GameCube and featured additional quests, challenge modes, and items. This is the preferred version for collectors. To get your hands on Phantasy Star Episodes 1 and 2 Plus will run you about $123 complete in box. Skies of Arcadia was released in 2000 for the Sega Dreamcast in Japan and North America, and later the next year in Europe. The enhanced GameCube port, Skies of Arcadia Legends, was released in 2002 in Japan and 2003 for the North American audience. The title was developed by Overworks and published by Sega. The team working on the title had a wealth of experience in the industry, ranging from working on the Sonic titles to games like Panzer Dragoon and Phantasy Star. Some goals the developers stated were making going from the overworld to towns and the insides of buildings seamless, with reduced load times and having more expressive characters, as well as more bright, optimistic storyline than other famous JRPGs of the time. Additional focus went into ensuring Vice's female companions, Fina and Aika, were on equal footing with him, and weren't presented as damsels in distress that needed to be rescued. The story follows our band of sky pirates as they try and stop an evil empire from unsealing ancient weapons of destruction and taking over the world. Interestingly, when the game was localized, many changes were made, including the removal of all tobacco and alcohol references, making the female characters less sexualized, and nearly completely rewriting the script to introduce more Western humor, apparently inspired by Joss Whedon's work. The game was universally praised, but did receive criticism for the extreme amount of random encounters, which could at times interfere with smooth exploration of the world. Ports were planned for GameCube, PS2, and the PC, though only the GameCube port ever materialized. Sega had renewed the copyrights on the series, but a sequel never materialized either. The game has a strange legacy, as it is beloved in both of its forms, but they both had vastly underwhelming sales. To travel the skies with the crews and Skies of Arcadia Legends will cost you about $139, complete in box. Lost Kingdoms 2 was released worldwide for the GameCube in 2003. It was developed by the famed From Software and published by Activision. It is a sequel to the 2002 release Lost Kingdoms. The game is an action role-playing game, retaining the card-based combat system of the original. The game follows our protagonist Tara, who is a thief who wields a true runestone, which allows her to use the aforementioned cards in battle. She plans to steal the other runestones and sets out with a band of thieves to do so. Along the way, she discovers the truth about her past and who she really is. The game uses most of the same cards as the first game, while adding in a few new ones and an additional element to the mix. Also, many cards have been given a second ability the player may choose to use instead. The game did not review as well as the original, receiving middling reviews across the board. This, combined with the relative obscurity of the title and the lack of interest in role-playing games in the console at the time, has made this title highly sought after with little in the way of supply to be had. To find Lost Kingdoms alongside Tara will cost you around $143, complete in box. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness was released in 2005 worldwide for the Nintendo Gamecube. It is not technically a sequel to Pokemon Colosseum, though it does take place in the same area as Colosseum's Adventure Mode. It features connectivity with the Game Boy Advance Pokemon titles. Shadow Pokemon return from Colosseum and take center stage in this title. The Wicked Team Cypher is up to no good, and are creating the Shadow Pokemon by closing their hearts. Our protagonist is tasked with defeating the evil team of trainers and purifying the Pokemon. This can be done by carrying them with you in the party, or in the Purification Chamber, which allows you to purify more than one at a time. Pokespots and the 100 Trainer Battle Challenge add depth and variety to the experience. Shadow Lugia is heavily featured in the promotional material for the game, and was seen as the game's main attraction. The game had average to decent reviews, and sold well, eclipsing 1 million copies sold. I believe the high demand for this game, combined with the fact that many games primarily played by young gamers get lost or destroyed, has led to the outrageous prices for this title, despite the large sales numbers and amount of copies produced. To ride the Gale of Darkness will cost you around $190, complete in box. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance was released worldwide in 2005 for the GameCube. Development began rapidly as Nintendo was impressed with the sales and popularity of Fire Emblem and the Sacred Stones in the West. This is the 9th installment in the series and the 3rd release in the States. The game changed perspective and went with a full 3D model of gameplay. It still retained the trademarks of the series, tight tactical combat, permadeath, and having many playable characters. Beast characters were added that could transform from their human form to their bestial form in battle. It is of note that after playtesting, the difficulty of the game was lowered and the Japanese Maniac mode was removed. The game follows Ike and his band as they try to defeat an evil empire hell-bent on resurrecting an evil entity to destroy the world. The game deals with deep subject matter, like racial animus, genocide, and the usual political intrigue of the series. The home base is introduced, where characters may have support conversations to tighten their bonds with their allies. Weapons may be purchased and upgraded, and characters may be leveled up. The game sold and reviewed well, with most reviews being positive to very positive. The story and combat were applauded heavily, while the graphics were criticized as dated and subpar. The game received a direct sequel on the Wii, Radiant Dawn. To walk the path of radiance with Ike and his crew will cost you around $213, complete in box. Pokemon Colosseum was released in Japan in 2003 and worldwide in 2004. Nintendo wanted to capitalize on the success of Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 as console versions of the popular handheld franchise. The game introduced Shadow Pokemon, that just like in the game mentioned previously, could be purified through battle, or this time at a Celebi shrine. The story follows Wes, a reformed member of the evil Team Snag'em. He is tasked with defeating Snag'em and the wicked puppet masters behind the scene, Team Cypher, who would also be featured as the antagonist in the Gale of Darkness. This game as well could interface with the Game Boy Advance games, and could even use the card reader in Japan to unlock new battles with trainers to gain more Shadow Pokemon. Other gameplay modes were Quick Battle Mode, Coliseum Battle Mode, and Gang Up Battle Mode. The North American pre-order included a disc with the Jirachi movie trailer and an unlock for Jirachi in the game. Having this disc with a copy of the game greatly increases the value. A basic copy of the game goes for an already expensive $150. With the full pre-order package, expect to pay upwards of an incredible $900, complete in box. Well, that just about wraps up our list of insanely expensive Nintendo Gamecube JRPGs. Did we miss any? What lovely GameCube JRPGs do you have in your collection? Let us know in the comments. If you like what we're doing here on the channel, why not drop a like on the video and subscribe? It really helps us out. Until next time, and as always, stay creepy.